Attractiveness is an instantly recognizable attribute for every walking person on Earth. It's easy to spot a face that is attractive or unattractive in less than a second. It's also an extremely neglected fact for just how important your looks are. People underestimate just how differently men who look like this are treated compared to men who look like this. And to start this video, I'm happy to prove to you your own unconscious bias of noticing and preferring more attractive faces. In 5-second intervals, 10 edited, morphed faces are going to appear on the screen. Like these two. And all you have to decide in 5 seconds is which you believe is more attractive. So here's the first one for free. Make sure to keep track of your score for the rest to see how many you've gotten right by the end. Now, man 2. Man 3. Man 4. Man 5. Man 6. Man 7. Man 8. Man 9. And finally, man 10. I can predict quite comfortably you got all 10 correct. Shouldn't be much of an achievement, because you probably found it quite easy. In some of these photos, I didn't even change much to make an improvement. This morph, for example, took less than 5 minutes. I noticed his hair was a little receded, so I fixed that. Then I noticed his left side of his head was asymmetrical, so I evened that up. Then I saw his eyes were a little too spaced, so I fixed that. Then lastly, I made a tiny touch to make his front teeth a little smaller. Or likewise, with this photo, I noticed straight away he had really severe eye bags, so I reduced those a bit. He had a receded hairline, his eyebrows were too thin, his jawline was rounded, and then from the first rendition I made his lips thicker, hair denser, and forehead wrinkles removed. Way more attractive. Easy as that in under 5 minutes. So, where I'm going with all of this, if it's easy enough for you to see the impact just a few changes can make to someone's appearance, then why wouldn't you think women can notice the same? I mean, something I've never understood is why is it such an outlandish statement to say that women care about men's looks? On gut reaction, it's possible you despise men who make this argument. You might deem them offensive or shallow-minded. You might think they oversimplify things too much and have a negative outlook on women and their preferences. But for me, what you might label as these things, I see for what it is, the truth. And if I'm really going to be honest for what I think about it, it's simple common sense. Correct. I see it as the most obvious and blatant thing women care about looks. In fact, I believe most women care about it more than anything and everything about a man combined. This might hurt you to hear. No, it doesn't mean all women, but it is the majority. So it doesn't mean there aren't exceptions. Because there are. They are just few and far between. So, I'll say one last time, for the overwhelming majority of women, I promise, what they care about the most is your looks, mainly being comprised of your face, height, and physique. Anyway, now I've put this big hot take out on show, you might be thinking, prove it. Prove how I am certain of my claim. However, if you are thinking this, the video you're watching now unfortunately isn't for this topic, and for no other reason than I have spoken about it countless times in countless videos. So, if you are still in the dark of what I see as this simple common sense, then I'd strongly recommend moving over to one of my many other videos for the time being before continuing on with this one. In particular, I'd recommend this, which is my best video. Not because I think so, but I've never seen a person not be convinced by my argument when I've shown them this in real life. But anyway, what today's video is going to be about is why is the lie of women not caring about looks so prevalent? How did this lie swell to such a large size that I am coining it the lie of the century? And as the title says, I have 5 reasons to explain. Reason 1. Women are master equivocators, which helps them to deceive men. No one has perfected the art of say one thing, do another than women. Let me tell you a quick story. About 5 years ago, I asked out this girl, who was actually the first girl I ever asked out. And to my demise, she responded, "Sorry, you're a nice guy, but I'm just not looking to date anyone right now." From this, I was feeling disappointed, but still comforted because I thought she probably would have liked to date me. But she's just got a lot of important stuff on her hands now, so she's not in a position to date anyone. Nothing personal against me. But then, and I'm sure you already know what's coming after. Literally 2 weeks after I asked her out, I saw she had began dating some good-looking guy. Unsurprisingly, at this point I was angry, because I knew I'd been lied to straight to my face, and actually believed it. So, let me tell you what I learned from this. The truth of women's equivocations and what they actually mean. If a woman says she's not looking to date right now, it means she doesn't want to date you right now, but will accept a Chad who comes along. If a woman says she can't find any good guys that want to date her, it means she can't find any Chads that want to date her. If a woman asks, "Where have all the good guys gone?" it means, "Where have all the Chads gone?" If a woman says, "You'll make a girl really happy one day, but just not her," it means you're not chatty enough for her, but you could probably get some second-class relationship with a less attractive girl. In short, all of these phrases are equivocations because they give you half the pieces of the puzzle, but don't paint the full picture. Men never use language like this. Have you ever seen those memes where women take ages to arrange plans because they only drop one breadcrumb at a time, while men can easily make plans with one another because they are a lot more direct and to the point? So even in extremely rare occasions a woman shows interest in you, you're likely to just respond and say you're not interested, rather than leading her on with a bunch of blue pill nonsense. So, that's reason 1. Now on to reason 2, which is a bit more scientific. Reason 2. Women lie to men because they are unaware of the survivorship bias that they only have eyes for the top 10% of men. I want to make a very important point before delving into this one. This isn't women's fault. The way dating is nowadays means online is the main way people meet. And that means the people shown available to you is largely determined by the platform's algorithms. And since women don't swipe right on every profile at 100 miles per hour like men do, it means they are predominantly matching with only the top 10% of men. From this, let's say a woman matches with 50 Chads. she might meet up with 5 of them. And if asked what made her meet up with those 5 guys, she'll say it's because he had a good conversation and was funny over text. He wasn't the boring guy who opened with, "Hey, how's your week?" Nor was he the guy who was overly forward and opened with, "Oh, let's see some assets." So in short, he was nice and personality wins. Now, none of what she's said is a lie per se. However, what she's missing is that the men who managed to get a chance of matching with her were already attractive enough in the first place. They were already in the top 10%. Meanwhile, the bottom 90% of men never got a chance because they were already weeded out and are invisible. So what I'm saying is, if you look at the full timeline, you see it was the looks that got the top 10% through the door. And they're deceiving the men because they're being blinded by their own recency bias. They think of the recent things that matter and ignore the initial building blocks that also contributed to the goal. So, when women say personality matters, what they actually mean is it's only a discernible characteristic once you're already in the top 10%. Nothing more, nothing less to it than that. Anyway, that's reason 2. Now moving on to reason 3, people underestimate how much women care about looks. Reason 3. Wanting to believe in a higher reason why women choose the men they do. I've noticed something not just about attraction, but all fields of life. Sometimes the most convoluted theories have the most credibility because people believe if it sounds intelligent, then it must be intelligent. Most people unknowingly have a bias where they are drawn to concepts that seem complex and multifaceted. Because the very fact they're more complex and multifaceted shows whoever thought of it was smart, so there's no harm in just following along with what they thought. In other words, most people are unknowingly sheep. So, when it comes to attraction, people think women's attraction must be extremely complex. There's no way you can amount everything up to something as simple and obvious as they mostly care about looks. Men are constantly searching for secret sauce and mystical elements that will help them at last find a girl who will desire them for who they are. You can't exactly blame them. Throughout their entire upbringing, they've been learning from parents and teachers, which, while we were kids, we viewed as significantly more intelligent than ourselves. So when they tell us that girls actually care about personality and making them laugh, in the majority of cases, we just follow along and believe them. It's quite crazy when you think about it. Not only because most men just follow along, but because they also carry it forward to their adult lives. I mean, we all believed that Santa Claus was real at the same time we were taught women care about personality. But almost every kid develops the critical thinking to know Santa Claus isn't real by the time they are a teenager. But why does the same questioning not happen for when it comes to women not caring about personality? How do you know it's not just another one of your teachers or mum and dad's lies? For those of you who haven't heard of the Occam's razor principle, I believe this is a great way to quickly explain most of what's true in the world. It states that in most cases, the correct answer to a question is the one that seems the most obvious. Why is the kitchen floor wet? Because the sink has been leaking. Why is my bike no longer at the rail that I locked it to? Because someone stole it. Why do I feel cold? Because the temperature is low. The same line of reasoning should surely apply to dating. Why are most women all attracted to the same top 10% of men? Because women care about looks and these guys are the most physically attractive. So, the bottom line here is don't see women as these all-benevolent, all-loving beings which are pure expressions of kindness, honesty, and gratitude. just because someone told you to. Instead, actually think critically, open your eyes, look at who women really desire, and analyse what characteristics these guys have to paint a picture of what is most important. You'd probably end up coming to the same conclusions as me. Now on to the fourth reason. Reason 4. Men in denial of the reason they got rejected is because of their looks, which is hard to change. At the beginning, when I said looks are most important, you might have been thinking, but what about money? Surely money is what women desire the most. After all, men are generally seen as providers. Even in the animal kingdom, this is true. So it must be the case women care about money the most. This couldn't be more false. The main reason money contributes almost no value to how a woman feels about you is because it only increases your BMV, beta bucks market value, and not SMV, which actually generates genuine attraction. And to give evidence to my point, there are plenty of lonely, sad guys on platforms like OnlyFans with absolute boatloads of money. You see articles published all the time of how guys are paying thousands for private videos and content from their favourite creators. So, if these men have a lot of money and they're willing to spend it on girls they like, and if it's true women care about money above all else, then why doesn't every OnlyFans creator find their top paying customer and convert him into a real relationship? Unsurprisingly, this never happens. The creators treat all of their fans like dirt. And you can see this because even on rare occasions they do meet up with their fans. It's evident from body language these guys are treated like doormats. These creators are like hoovers who want to suck every last penny dry from these clowns. So guys, the point I want to make here is don't delude yourself into thinking that money is going to be the game changer for your dating life when you eventually make it big. Because at best, you'll get women trying to extort and exploit you for your money, all whilst disguising it as love, so it inevitably traps you. Even I, as a teenager, used to fool myself by thinking things like, Chads are having all the fun with these girls now. But that's okay. Because in 10 years' time, I'll be rich, they'll be broke, and finally I'll get my season in the sun with the first pick of all the girls. Pure delusion. I can even say, as a top 5% earner for my age now, that money has not made the slightest of differences in terms of how women treat me. It has always been looks that made women attracted, and if you want to see proof of that, check out my Tinder experiment on my channel. Anyway, finally moving on to reason 5 why looks are underrated by guys. Reason 5. The status quo takes a long time to change. Think about this analogy for a sec. Scientists have been pretty confident that humanity didn't start with Adam and Eve. We have so much information now that gives quite serious certainty that the universe began 14 billion years ago as a result of the Big Bang. Life started 4 billion years ago and species evolved, bringing us to where we are today. We've known this for at least 100 years. However, because the status quo believed in a higher power creating life for the 5,000 years preceding that, it's unsurprising that for the majority of people, they still believe in that status quo today. This shows just how long it takes opinions to change even when there is overwhelming evidence that an old theory is wrong and far-fetched. However, this was within a long time frame of a century. So just think of how little societal opinions would change in 1 decade. That's how long roughly looks has definitely been the most important factor for women. All thanks to online dating. Before online dating, fair enough, you might argue money or even personality was more important. But today, since online dating has taken over, looks has absolutely came to the forefront and is unquestionably number one. But because it's been like this for such a short period of time, it's hard to convince people to think otherwise of their outdated beliefs. Especially when a lot of said people with those beliefs are already married and something else mattered in the time they were dating. What I'm trying to say is, don't be surprised that in 100 years' time, people will view us as the first free-thinking people that started this idea that women care most about looks. It's only a matter of time until the masses realise we were right all along and they should have started agreeing with us sooner rather than later. Anyway, that's the 5 points for the video. If the points have resonated with you today, then I'd recommend getting your own looks evaluated by me to find how attractive you are. I've sold over 15,000 of these to date, with over 3,000 reviews. You'll find exactly what score you are by comparing yourself to this chart, and know your potential to see how much you can improve. On top of this, I have kept the prices super affordable despite the high demand. And there's also higher packages that offer an analysis of your facial features and looks maxing advice. So if this is interesting for you, then head to the description now and I'll see you over there. Besides that, if you've enjoyed, make sure to press the like button on your way out and leave any thoughts you have in the comments below, as it all helps the YouTube algorithm.